Hello, 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 and welcome. I am the Texarcist, Shane Moore, and I will be here with you for the next hour, hour and a half, maybe. I mean, we're not on a time limit. Talking about 2020 and why 2020 has been difficult, to say the least. Difficult, but not negative. Now, I know that it certainly feels very negative, I mean, with everything going on, but I would use the word challenging. It's been very, very challenging. And I can assure you that I have personally, it has been really, really rough. And that's why that I haven't been on in this year. I have been down more than I've been up. And it's like I would say that I had that I had several near-death experiences, but I prefer to say that death had several near-Shane experiences. That sounds better. But the truth is look, I mean, there were times when, there were several times when I thought, okay, this is it. I'm not gonna pull through this, or just really, really awful. And it has continued to this day. I mean, I'm still on the ropes, so to speak. And when this first hit was December 3rd last year, which is right around the time that they say that the coronavirus was started here, and now they're saying that it started quite early, sometime earlier. I don't know, but if someone told me, hey, you had COVID-19, I would believe them, because I have never been so sick, so weak. It weakened me so much that I actually contracted salmonella on top of that. And then on top of that, those two infections, whatever it was, turned into 4 at the same time. So I was put on antibiotics and all these different medications, and it was awful. And I can seriously say that I have was like I was dead, but I am happy to say that I'm back, and a lot has happened. A lot has happened since the last show I did. Wow, this is crazy. Hey, Mona, how are you? Glad you're here. One is a lonely number, but thank you. Mona is my fiance, my right-hand woman, my beautiful, lovely young lady. I'll say young lady. I'm not going to say her age, but she's young to me. I'm just I wouldn't say old man. Let's say I'm a mature man with gray beard, salt and pepper beard, whatever, and cantankerous and moody and all that good stuff, So she's an angel. she is an angel, and they say opposites attract, so you know what that means. I guess I must be the devil, or a devil. How about that? But hopefully a good devil. Now, oh, Mona, you didn't have to go there. Okay, thank you. I'm officially like blushing big time right now. So, I love you. Now, stop that. No more of that. Okay, now, what I'm going to talk about tonight is how that 2020 has been really difficult, really challenging, and to say that it has surpassed providing adversity and things that we didn't even imagine would happen. I mean, just think about January. Did you ever think that there would be 200,000 people dead, right now because of a pandemic from China or whatever, And on top of that, every day you turn on the news, or I don't turn on the news, but I do see, and on YouTube and everything, there's a few that I watch and listen to. But as far as the mainstream media, it's like a blender. They take truth and they mix it with lies, or they exaggerate, or whatever. And I'm not saying that it's fake news. That's not my answer for everything. But I'm just saying that it is designed to manipulate you, to control you, and to lead you without you even realizing that you're being led. Because let's face it, it is all based, it's all emotionalism. It's shock jock, whatever you want to call it. The bad news is what makes the ratings. The bad news is what makes, and I'm not saying that it's not bad. It is bad. But what I'm saying is the media, they're not your friend. They're not going to just inherently lead you to feeling better, or to ease your fears. No, they're going to increase your fears. Because I would say, and this is no exaggeration, I would say every mainstream media outlet, mainstream, they're all given exactly what to say, how to say it, and they do. And it is to cause fear, it's to cause panic. And who do you think instructs the mainstream media to do that? Look, folks, this is smoke and mirrors on steroids. I mean, it's like there are agents, or there are spies, and then there's super spies, and then there's double spies. This goes into like triple spies. There are people in the media that are, and this is not conspiracy, this is fact, okay? They are so involved, so deep into changing public opinion or controlling the masses with, well, the new so-and-so reported it, this reporter, that reporter said it, so it has to be true. And even if there are many people that say, well, no, I don't believe it just because so-and-so said so, but on a subconscious level, they do. They do believe it. They would believe it if you had Howdy Doody sitting up there, because it's all about indoctrination. People have been indoctrinated since they were small children. As a child, what did you do? You grew up with the TV on, most of us did, and when the news came on, you saw your parents, whoa, the news is on. And over time, that instills in you that has to be gospel truth. That has to be absolute truth, because, mom and dad, boy, they got really serious about it, and what the news said, what the reporter said, what Barbara Walters said, what Dan Rather said, it really, really affected mom and dad. So, and they believed it, so why shouldn't I? Well, that's another thing, that's part of the indoctrination. This is a system. This is a systematic problem that people are not educated. Education is an illusion. People are indoctrinated. They're indoctrinated into a belief system. And trust me, it is a system. And it's not a system to bring you to truth. It's not a system to truly explain to you and teach you knowledge, because knowledge is power. And it's undeniable. You cannot deny that the powers that be, those in control, they don't want you to have power. Nada. None. They want you to have the illusion that you have power. They want you to have the illusion. They want you to believe that you understand. And that's the problem, is so many people believe they understand. And I'm not trying to say that I know it all, because I don't. There's so much I don't know. I know just a small fraction. But the small fraction that I know, and whatever else I know, I'm going to share it with you, with listeners who know and feel and have felt for a long time, maybe your entire life, that there's something really, really that doesn't make sense with everything in the world. And that's the world system. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and it's what is punishment for one man is a slap on the wrist, where another man does something that's much, much less serious. And the one that commits the less serious crime receives life imprisonment. I mean, how and where, on what planet does that make sense? It doesn't, because it's a system. And that system is not for you. Even though many, many people think it is, and I'm not talking about the police. I'm talking about those who make the laws, those who those who, let's see, maintain, so to speak, maintain the laws. Now they manipulate the laws and the laws of the land, and what happens is, hey, it's not who you are, it's who you know that makes a difference. And how much money you have, how much power you have. Hey, that's just, it's just fact. But it's mainly your connections. Look at Ghislaine Maxwell, okay? I will go so far as to say that she, as far as what will happen to her, will be absolutely nothing. Number one, because of who her father is. Robert Maxwell. And he was Israeli super spy, okay? But he was one of the few, he was very, very powerful. I'll just say that, because I call them puppet masters. He was a puppet, just like everybody else that is named, that is known. They're puppets. The ones pulling the strings, you will never know, but they're there, and the reason that you'll never know is because they're so powerful. They don't have to tell you their name. They don't seek that fame. They don't have that pride to well, let's just put it this way. They don't have like low self-esteem where they have to make sure people know their name and what they did. They're beyond that. They're beyond money. Money's like, nothing to them. But what they want, what they seek, is power. They don't want any more money. I mean, they can burn money, but what they want is power. What do powerful men want? What do powerful people want? More power. That's it. And thankfully, that is like the 1% of the 1%, because if it was any more than that, it would be really, really bad. I mean, it's already bad. But what I'm saying is they control the media, and just like shows that I did in January, I did like 3 shows, okay? And I had many people that responded, that replied, that told me, like live, they said, why are you doing this? They said, this is going to be taken down. They're going to chunk this. They're going to delete this, probably your entire channel. Why are you doing this? And I said, well, I'm just, giving my opinion. I said, I'll leave it to the listeners to accept it or reject it. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I respect that. But the proof that I was really not just talking in circles or being like Alex Jones. There was one guy telling me, he says, you're just you're just a skinny version of Alex Jones. And I said, I said, nothing really usually offends me, but could you not go there? I said, just please don't go there. Don't compare me to Alex Jones, because I present what I sincerely have researched, and re-researched, and tried every way possible to find other reasons, and what I'm left with is what I present to my listeners. And what I presented was, I'm not going to mention it here. I'm not going to take that chance. I mean, but January, those episodes, if you're wondering, listen to those episodes, because it's very telling. It's very shocking how deep, how subtle the deception is. But those shows, I received death threats from weird emails that I would check, and they would be sent from these these weird mail drop things or something, to where, or they would be in some kind of I believe it was called a Tor bot or something like that. I don't know, but it would change, so you could try to search it. I had someone check it out, check out these threats and everything. And you said I would be chasing this thing forever. And you said, whoever did it, they know, somewhat what they're doing, and but many of them said, hey, you're right, and came to my defense whenever I was being threatened with a lot of different things, horrible things. But anyway, that's the truth of the matter is that those, if you want to know who the true oppressors are, if you want to know who where the power is, and the power that oppresses, and the power that causes discord, causes wars, and uses and abuses, and people, uses and abuses people, and not just a certain ethnic group, but all people. You only have to look at what group, or what country, what ethnicity that you're not allowed to criticize. And I'll leave it at that. I'll say no more, but I'll leave it at that. And just, take it for what it is. But anyway, what I want to talk about is how we have been indoctrinated to believe that this pandemic, these riots, this racial wars that are seemingly beginning to take place, or that are taking place. We have armed militias. We've got it's like the in Michigan, when we had well, not we, but when they had the guys, walk in with the rifles and shotguns, and it's like, okay, what is this? I mean, now we have redneck Randy that you get your shotgun. Somebody said something, and we're gonna storm the gates of the Capitol. Yeah. What about that? I mean, come on. Hey, that's not cool, And before that, I mean, like, if I even heard that, I would be like, so when they blew his brains out, how long did it take him to land on the ground, or something like that? Because, that guy would be dead, But not now. Not now. You see it now, and it's just like, okay, no problem. And it's meant to scare you. And it does scare you because, and these people stopping cars, these protesters stopping cars and pulling people out, or, doing just awful things. And then you have the very ones that we have been taught to trust. Not all of them, but some that we've been taught to trust. The police. What are you beginning to see? You're beginning to see the breakdown. They're breaking down our trust of law enforcement, our trust of the system. And when you have no trust, and you have no recourse when things happen, you have no recourse, what happens? People take matters into their own hands. And when that happens, it does get bad. It gets really bad. And but what I'm saying is that although 2020 has been very, very bad or very, very challenging, it's not necessarily negative, because the truth is we grow by adversity. We grow by the obstacles that we overcome. How does a child learn to walk? Well, by falling down. And they they get back up, they fall back down. They get back up, they fall back down. It is a cycle. And no one is immune from it. There are cycles within cycles, and it is what goes up must come down. But when I'm talking about this, what goes up must come down, but it also must go back up. And it goes back down. Now, Mona and I were talking today, and she brought up something very, very brilliant, because it was just very, very good. So she was talking, And she said, some people say that God will never, and when I say God, those of you that have listened, you know that I'm not preaching, but what I'm talking about is I'm talking about not a God as most Christians, most people see God as a doting grandfather type, bearded. No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about. The Bible says God is love. God is God is love. God is truth, and God is spirit. Okay, what is spirit? Well, spirit is a metaphor for spirit is fire. Metaphor for fire is energy. God is energy. What kind of energy? Love. Truth. God is not, someone that you, or some grandfather-looking guy that, it's not like that. So what I'm saying is she said, they say that God will never put on you what you can't handle. And I said, and she says, and that's not true. And I said, you're absolutely right, that's not true. Matter of fact, it's just the opposite. God, he or it does and will do it over and over and over again to what? To break you. To break you over and over and over again. Shock. Wow. This guy's saying this? I mean, yes, I'm saying it. It needs to be said. Because as long as people walk around believing that God is never going to put on them more than they can bear, you're living in some kind of, you're living a lie. Because God himself says that as far as the potter with the potter's wheel, what does the potter do? Well, making a pot, he breaks it. Or think about this. To fill a vessel that's closed, you have to break it. And it's a well-known fact that it's human nature for us to be closed. We're stubborn. We don't want to we don't want to do away with our mind, with our desire, with our desires. And I'm not saying it's bad, it's just our nature. And accept the spiritual nature, which is love, peace, truth. The human nature is not like that. I mean, the Bible even says, says the heart of man is evil, beyond comprehension, and yes, I mean, that's true. I mean, when you get right down to it, what is the problem? It is ego, me. Okay. What happens is to deal with that, to overcome that, it has to be broken. And since that is our nature, guess what? We have to be broken. And it's like so many times myself that I have thought, like, why is this happening? Why is this taking place? And I'm why me? What have I done? And truth is, nothing. I haven't done anything. I'm not being punished. I'm actually being helped. And I know that's, whoa, you talk about a new perspective. That is a new perspective, because so many televangelists, so many preachers and teachers and pastors and this and that, it's like Pat Robertson, okay? Oh, man, please. Pat Robertson, This is the guy on the 700 Club, because I believe he's 700 years old. I think that's why it's 700 Club. Anyway, no, he's actually 90, which doesn't make it any better, okay? And because the guy has always been, it's like he's the dude that you do not want to wander off and get on like an open mic, or have a reporter like catch, Grandpa Pat, in when nobody's around, because you never know what's going to come out of this dude's mouth. I mean, you talk about wild, and it's crazy. I mean, it is absolutely crazy, but people still listen to him. Okay, he comes out and says, well, the reason for the pandemic is, we're all adults here. He says, I kid you not. He says, I believe it's due to lesbians having oral sex. He says, because you see, and I'm thinking, okay, we don't need an explanation, Pat. Thank you very much. And he's got this creepy grin on his face that would scare Stephen King. I mean, Stephen King would get the creeps by, he's like, yeah, that's where it originates from, because, and he starts explaining how the coronavirus is actually caused by lesbians having oral sex. I'm like, okay, what? I mean, whoa. Somebody needs to, it's crazy that people still listen to him. Okay? But he says, and what has happened is, he says, with he's really, really big on bashing gays and, transgender, and just, but, it's amazing how he doesn't, really bash the people that are alcoholics, or people that are gluttons, or no, it's just certain things that I think, truthfully, I think that that he dislikes the most, because he's drawn to that, and he feels feels threatened by it. But like I said, they claim to be doctors, and most of them are honorary doctors, and they use the doctor, they use the PhD and everything. Are you serious? Really? Okay, if you have to do that, then knock yourself out. But, But the truth is it is not punishment from God. And when I say God is, in my opinion, my belief is that God is not independent of human consciousness. Now, it's going to shock a lot of people, but hey, that's exactly what I'm saying, is because think about this. How could God be God if there was no people to worship him or to interact with him? It would be like a man saying that he was married without a wife. Where's your wife? Well, I don't have one, but I'm married. Makes no sense. Well, then you're not a husband. God without creation, which is us, that's what the Bible says, simply wouldn't be God. And it's my belief that would not exist. What does the Apostle Paul say? He says, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And there's a reason for that, and it's not bad, but people take it as bad. They, fear God, shake, be deathly afraid. No, that's not what it means. But what I'm saying is that's what they don't want you to know, because when you know that, then you understand that when things happen like this, like 2020, yes, it's very, very hard. It's not pleasant at all, to say the least, but it happens so to make you stronger. It is breaking you. To lift you back up. It is breaking you. And that's what I'm talking about, these cycles. This is, you go down. Why? Because you have to come back up. And when I say you have to come back up, you do. It's inevitable. It's just like they say what goes up must come down. What goes down must come up. This is like, as above, so below. But there's another aspect of that, but it's not mentioned. I've very rarely seen it mentioned, and I've always thought about it. As above, so below. Jesus said, "Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. As above, so below." But think about this: as above, so below, as within. What about the within? Well, because they don't want to talk about that. They want you to continue believing that everything is outside of yourself. It's outside of you. You're lacking. So you have to. So you need to chase. You need to search. You need to look for certain books and certain potions and certain magical, supposing some kind of abracadabra that's going to truly empower you, like they promise. And I'm not talking bad about the about churches. Well, not churches. I'm not talking bad about the members of churches. I'm not talking about those that are deceived by religion, not spirituality, but religion, and the denominations and how they're regulated and controlled with an iron fist and by powerful people. And that's what bothers me, is the people that are listening to so-and-so people. I'm sorry, people like Kenneth Copeland, people like Benny Hinn, people like and people are going to say, well, that's not very classy to be calling these people out. Okay, and I say, I pretty much, my viewpoint on that is, well, okay, maybe it's not classy, but they're not classy, so they kind of go together, and they need to be called out. And because they have such power and they're misusing it, they're abusing it. They're in positions of authority, and they're abusing that authority and using and milking people dry, and people that don't deserve it. I mean, God, it is horrible. Just the things that I've seen this past week, it's horrible how some of these ministers, televangelists, whatever, just the pride and the lack of empathy, the lack of compassion, the lack of no love. It's horrible. But they teach those that listen to every word they say. What do they teach? They teach that, hey, you can live in perfect health right now if you just have the faith. And when the devil comes to you and says, when they come to you and say that your loved one has COVID-19, you just rebuke that. You just rebuke the devil and send him back to hell. Like Kenneth Copeland and Benny Hinn, all these other, Jesse Duplantis and all that. I'm thinking to myself, have you even read the Bible? Do you have some kind of I don't know, some kind of like screen or closure that keeps like spiritual knowledge out of what's left of your brain or because it doesn't even make sense. And truth is you have these people that are saying, well, I'm not afraid of, I am not afraid of coming to worship the Lord here in church because God's going to protect me. Why do they say that? Because that's what they've been told by their pastor or by their spiritual leader. And then, some of them you hear, well, turns out that, there were like 8, 9, or more that caught COVID and, man, God, we're in a pandemic. So, but still, they teach that you name it, you claim it, health and wealth, and prosperity, that poverty is a sin, and that you can live your best life now. And I'm thinking, okay, how many do we have? Please tell me, because I'm really interested. But what they do is they tell people that, and Kenneth Copeland, he says, I can't even remember the last time that I was sick. And then he brags about, he says, and I have money. Okay. No, you don't. You don't. You have access to money. Your ministry, that you fleece the flock, but it's not your money. And the man has no shame, and nor will he ever. I mean, but I'm not here to diss him. But I'm just saying, as far as actually helping people and lifting them up, they don't do that. And that should tell everybody that, hey, Jesus said you'll know the false teachers, you'll know them by their fruit. Well, when you are talking to your listeners, to people that are in your church or that are following you, that look to you for spiritual guidance, and some of them have cancer, some of them have diabetes, some of them have arthritis that's so bad, and some of them are taking their last breath. Many have a family member die, like in the last few days or week or whatever. And you've got this guy saying, I can't remember a day when I was sick. And you have a mother that is, working 2 jobs, raising 3 kids by herself, and she's worrying where the money's going to come to buy them food that night. And he says, I've got money. That's not funny. It's sad. Because that very woman will believe what he says about, well, if you give what you have, God's going to return it to you 100-fold. So if you give $1, God's gonna give you back $100. I know, because I stand in the office of prophet. Oh, yeah, okay. And he's not the only one. And those that don't even say things like that, they're even those who mean well. please understand, they are leading people astray. They're not making them feel better. They're not lifting them up. They're actually pushing them down even further. People that have, especially this year, they've pretty much lost hope. Well, what they're listening to as far as modern, today's spiritual teaching, spiritual knowledge is not knowledge. It's garbage. And it makes no sense. It is absolutely destructive, and it leads to destruction. It leads to death. Maybe not physical death, but it leads to spiritual death. And for me, in my opinion, the Spirit is your life force. Whatever you want to call it, it's that spark. And you know what I'm talking about. And it's like I'm not out like some people are that run up and say, "Are you saved?" Don't do that. Please don't do that. That is, or they knock on your door. Hey, we're from the First Church of the Frozen Chosen. Can we come in and share the wonderful happiness and joy of the Lord with you? Being that you look and sound like you just crawled out of a plane crash, no, I think I'll pass. What are they doing? They're just saying the words. The spark, that life force, is what makes the difference. You know when someone is sincere, and you know when someone's just saying the words, giving you lip service. They don't really care about you, they care about themselves. And they're doing it out of obligation, believing that if they don't, that God's going to punish them because they're not out, saving the universe, saving the galaxy, like some Marvel superhero. No. The truth is the clearest that you will ever see, and when I say see, I'm talking about experience God. And also, keep in mind that, in my opinion, my belief is that God is part of your own consciousness. It's just a higher level. That the clearest that you will ever see God is through tear-filled eyes or swollen eyes from crying so much, or in your most painful, deepest, darkest hell that you've ever experienced. That's when you'll see and experience God, the strongest and the clearest that you ever will. That really tells me something, is that times like these are not out of anything that anyone did wrong. It's actually an please don't misunderstand what I'm about to say, because if it was malicious, if it was like truly evil, I would have no problem saying it. But it's actually for our benefit. And again, I cannot emphasize this enough. When I say God, I'm talking about, yes, God, but I'm also talking about your higher consciousness. And you have one. You have a higher consciousness. Now consider this. You have the Exodus, correct? You have the Exodus. In the Old Testament, Moses, he does what he does. He comes upon the burning bush, and God speaks to him and says, "Hey, I want you to go and set my people free." And we know the story. Okay. But the truth is the Bible, and please stay with me, because this is really the gist of everything. And if you can just grasp this, if you can hang on to it long enough to check it out yourself, you'll see that what I'm telling you is truth. And I have so many people that when I say something that's like what I'm about to say, they immediately say, "You're totally wrong." And I was, okay, well, all right. But tell me, if you don't mind, tell me where I'm wrong. And that's when they kind of go, pale and kind of like looking around for, like, oh, well, I didn't plan this out too well, did I? Because I wouldn't say it if it could be denied. Like if someone could say, well, the Exodus happened because of all of the thousands of pieces or hundreds of pieces or one piece of evidence that it did happen. The only problem is there's none. Because it didn't happen. But it doesn't take away from the power. It doesn't take away from the message. And that's what's important. It's not important if Moses ever existed. I mean, think about it. And why do you think it is that the burial place, the grave of Moses, has never been known, not even to this day? Why do you think that is? Why do you think they put that in there? Because Moses never really existed. But again, it does not take away from the power in the message. And it is truth. I'm not saying it's a lie. I'm just saying that it is a very, it's the highest level of truth that is being explained so we can understand it using stories and metaphors. And there you have it. Is the Bible a book of fairy tales? No. Is it a book of truth? Yes. Is it a historical book? Not quite. Such as when the Bible says that Joshua, about they marched around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Seventh time they blew the trumpets, the walls fell. The only problem with that is at the time of Joshua, or the time that supposedly happened, Jericho didn't even exist, and much less walls built. But it doesn't matter, because it's not the actual, it's not to be taken literal. Things like that are written to make you say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And the writers way back when, if they could see you, they're probably going, yes, that's he or she, yeah, they caught it, like, such as when the Bible says that there were that the children of Israel, that they left Egypt and journeyed 40 years in the desert on the way to the Promised Land. Okay? Well, do you know? Okay, thank you, Mona. Hello, Melissa. Glad you're here. I can't see your chat, whatever, but we'll take care of that. And thank you for all of those who are listening that I can't see, but thank you very much for listening. But when I said, the above, as above, so below, as within, that applies to everything in the Bible, if you read it the correct way, if you take it the correct way, as not as literal, but as metaphorical and allegorical. And I'll tell you why. The Apostle Paul writes, he says, for the letter killeth, but the Spirit gives life. What's he saying? He's saying, if you read this, and this is the Apostle Paul, if you read this scripture, letter for letter, word for word, it leads to physical death. You will not receive the power of truth. Why? Because you're taking metaphorical stories literally that make no sense. So what do you expect? And he says it very aptly, very correctly. Yeah, it leads to spiritual death. It leads to death. But the Spirit gives life. When you read it as it's meant to be read and taken as stories that are describing spiritual truth to you, then you've got it. You start to put 2 and 2 together. Just like Moses, we will wander in the desert, say 40 years. That's just a numerology. It just means something like complete or maybe a hell of a long time. I don't know. But it doesn't matter if it was 40 years or 400 years. What matters is the message. And what the message is that Moses, I'm Moses, you're Moses, everybody's Moses. And we all wander in the desert for a long time because the desert is within yourself. And we all go down or we wind up in Egypt in bondage, in slavery. And what is Egypt? Egypt is the lower mind. And then we say, whoa, yeah, this is not working too well for me because being a slave here in Egypt and being abused, and it's not working for my benefit, because Egypt is a metaphor for your ego. You have to get out of it. You have to rise out of the mire of the ego. Matter of fact, the truth is the devil, the serpent in the Garden of Eden, What was the serpent? I mean, where did it come from? Where did he come from? Or, how did that happen? I mean, it's like, whoa. Personally, if I was the way I used to view it, it was like, okay, so Eve is just kicked back and she turns her head and there's this reptoid, bipedal, really, snake man standing there, and she's like, he says, did he really say not? And I'm like, okay, I would be like, I'm out of here, I'm heading out, because number one, you have a snake humanoid. Number two, he's speaking. And number three, it's just freaky. I mean, yeah. So I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and head out, But she didn't. She talks to him, She talks to it like it's like, hey, she's not surprised in the least. The reason is because it wasn't a literal serpent. It was her ego. Her ego. Just like there is no devil outside of yourself. The only devil is your ego. Now, having said that, those of you that have listened to me, you know that I help people that are having paranormal activity, demonic activity. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but what I'm saying is that it just a few years ago I told Mona, I said, I'm really beginning to see things and put things together that have me believing that this activity, this whatever you want to call it, demonic activity, psychokinesis, things like that, things moving, disembodied voices, and really creepy stuff. Okay, it's
it's coming from without. Yes, it's coming from outside the person. But the origin, this is going to sound weird, but the origin of the demon, the demonic entity, whatever you want to call it, is their consciousness, is their own mind. And because when you think about it, we have heaven, we have hell, right? What is that? That's what I'm talking about. That's the up, that's the high, and that's the low. And in the Kabbalah, people say, he just said Kabbalah? Yes, I did. Because most of your Bible is all about Kabbalah. It's just told in a way, it's just been modified, Christianized. I don't think I just created a new word, but anyway. Yes. Absolutely. Because the Kabbalah has been called very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Stay away from it. Don't go near it. It can hurt you. It can, it can cause you harm. It's evil. Don't even read about. Don't even look into it. Don't even investigate it. What? Okay. When in the Bible Jesus was teaching the people, and the Pharisees, the religious leaders of that day, they were running a racket, with the temple and everything. They were making money. They had the status. They were wearing the robes. They were enjoying the riches and the status and living like rock stars, And they come up and they hear Jesus teaching the people, the public, the citizens, the common people, not clerical, not politicians, not, And they ask him, who gave you the authority to teach this teaching or to teach this knowledge? Well, the Bible doesn't say what he was teaching, but it's pretty obvious that they knew what it was, and they knew that they were pretty upset that he was teaching such a different, let's just say different knowledge to common people. Why? Because he was teaching them Kabbalah. He was teaching them, well, I should say truth. Kabbalah just means to receive. It doesn't mean anything like, you're going to say the word and, you're going to have like the devil up here or something. All that is all movies, books. But he was teaching them the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Okay, keep that in mind. And I'm about to wrap it up. So, but he was teaching them the key. He was teaching them or giving them the keys to the kingdom. And people still say, well, I hope I make it to heaven. Or, Johnny over there, I tell you right now, that dude's going to hell, okay, well, let's have a round of applause for Johnny, Judge not, and you'll not be judged, or you shouldn't be judged. And when people say things like that, I'm like, well, you know what? I really admire Johnny, because say what you will, but he really lived, didn't he? He really, went all out and did all the things that you want to do and you've done in your mind, but you're too afraid to really go out, for the gusto and really give it a good shot. I'm joking, but there is some truth to that. Just because somebody has what people say sinned, or they've done bad things, or they've done stupid things, we all do. Just because somebody has fallen doesn't mean you have to kick them when they're down. I had someone ask me today, said, hey, there's this friend. There's like, 4 of us. And these guys, about 25, 30, I don't know, that'd be the age range. And they said, this one friend said, we've been friends since, high school or whatever. And, or, junior high or something like that. And they said, and this one friend, he is jealous of our success financially, personally, and what we have, and he is so condescending and so negative. And do you think that we should stop hanging around him? And it really, really, was sad. Not sad that in the way that most people would think, but it's sad that someone would even consider, would have to ask that question. And I said, no. I said, no. You don't stop hanging around him. I said, you privately talk to him and find out, ask him, tell him what you've told me. And he did explain it quite, in detail. I said, tell him what you told me. I said about how he acts and how it affects everyone around him, including you, and including himself. Tell him how people perceive him when he acts like that. And I said, and then tell him that you're going to help him and go through whatever you have to go through. His finances, his personal, like you said, marital problems, whatever, and help him and show him that ways that he can be successful, instead of just, going to a total stranger and saying, hey, should I drop my friend? I said, if he's your friend, I said, that's not what friends do. I said, so maybe, I said, if you could just drop him, I said, that doesn't say much about you as a friend. I said, because personally, I said, when someone's a friend, a true friend, I said, that's loyalty. And I said, and that is very, very rare. Because the truth is, unfortunately, that most people would throw their own mother under the bus to save their own ass. And we know that, but we we get lured into believing that, someone is, I think that that we've all been guilty of thinking too highly of ourselves, and I know I have, and it's cost me. So, lesson learned. Yeah, I told him, I said, the truth is I said, I don't trust anyone. Maybe I trust Mona. I trust my mother. But other than that, nothing, no offense to my friends that are listening, or, family members that may be listening. But, I mean, if you're not really, really close to me, I simply, I can't. I'm not going to take that chance. So, but I told him, I said, everybody falls down. Everybody has their weakness. I said, I do, you do. And I said, and your friend, I said, this is just his, time of weakness. I asked him if he had always been that way, and he said no. And I said, well, that tells you he's going through something. This is his downtime. I said, and basically what I'm talking about now, what goes down, it's going to come back up. And it's going to come back up bitter, or it's going to come back up better. And when we realize that and start to reach out or reach down with a hand to lift someone up or pull someone out, rather than push them in or push them down further, that's when things are going to change. And people say, well, that's how you change the world. No, that's how you change yourself. Change yourself, and the world will change. Don't try to change the world. Just change you. Just, for the better. And so I that's what I was telling him is that's the problem, is that so many people, they see someone that is in one of these valleys, dark valley, whatever you want to call it. They see them, but that's not the problem. The problem is they see them from the mountaintop. When they're on the mountaintop, they've arrived at, whatever metaphorical path they were on, or whatever. They've reached their destination. The friend hasn't, or the person that they're judging hasn't. They're in the dark valley. And a true friend, a friend will come into the darkness with a lantern and find you. True? I think that everyone would agree with that. But a brother, or one that is closer than a brother, will come into the darkness with or without a lantern to bring you out. And that's what begins to lessen these down times, these like 2020 is bad times or challenging times are going to come. That's inevitable. You can't have good without having the difficult. And the only way we grow is by obstacles. And people say, well, the devil is placing so many obstacles in front of me that I have prayed to God, and I just keep praying, and I don't understand it, because there's more obstacles after I pray, and I just don't know what's going on. Well, maybe it's could it be that the Bible even says that the devil can do nothing without God's permission, correct? And so when this happens, you've been taught by con men, you've been taught by people that are out for their own gain, that you're being plotted. There's a demon, there's a devil the devil's at every turn seeking to devour you, and you have to be on alert. You have to do this, you have to do that. But could it be that the reason that the obstacles increase is because God may be kind of tired of you not listening to these shysters, these con men that are teaching you exactly the opposite of what Christ taught, which would be opposing, would be opposite of what he taught, that would be Antichrist, wouldn't it? And that's exactly what it is. The Bible says that the Antichrist is a spirit. And when it's saying spirit, it doesn't mean like it's a demon. It's like this demon called Antichrist. Hello, Bob Larson. Please, stay away from that guy. Con man extraordinaire, and does his spiritual knowledge is well, let's just say it's negative. I'm sorry. I just have no mercy for anyone that abuses and uses and steals from people and takes advantage of people, and knowing full well what they're doing. And but anyway, yes. And so I ask these people, okay, who's putting the obstacles there? The devil. Well, but the devil can only do what God allows the devil to do, correct? Yes. Who's putting the obstacles there? And they don't really want to say it. God is. Or what you call God is. Why? Why is it that in your deepest, darkest moments, some of your deepest, darkest moments, when you have cried out, you've not heard anything? And don't act like that's never happened, because I know it has. It has happened to me many times, and it's not a good feeling. It's a horrible feeling. But why did it happen? To prove to you that you're stronger than you know. And by not making his or its presence known, by not answering you in your deepest, darkest moment, empowered you. By not lifting you up, by saying, hey, when you get tired of being down, you'll get up on your own. Well, look at yourself now. Look at what you've been through. Think about it. Think about what you've been through. Think about every time that you thought, this is the worst that it's ever been. Things are never going to get better. I'm never going to make it. You're still here. And as for me, I just want to make a proclamation. Okay, 2020, you've had your best shot. You know, really. You know, you've had what? Almost, well, you had 9 months. 9 months. Right? I mean, or maybe 8. Close enough to a pregnancy, okay? Well, that's fine. Okay, you've, you know, just humor me. 2020, you know, you gave birth to a lot of things, and they were very, very rough, to say the least. But, you know, you've had your time at home plate. You've had your time to bat. Now it's our time. It's our time. And the way we bat, the way we knock the ball out of the park is not by anything more than changing our mindset. And when we do that, the down times, if another 2020 happens, when we change our mindset, change our perspective, we'll remember this year. And number one, we'll say, this is not going to last forever. Number two, this is to make me stronger. Number three, I'm not afraid. I'm not worried like I was in 2020. Number four is there's a lot of people that haven't been through this. I have. You know, it's kind of like you've been in boot camp. I need to go out and help these people just by sharing with them what was shared with me. You know, pay it forward, whatever you want to call it. And number five, when that mindset, when you begin changing your mindset, the world around you changes. And that, in my opinion, that is the only way that that the world will in fact change. You know, is and I could go on, but when we stop labeling ourselves, which I don't, people say, what do you do? I'm like, well, it all depends on the circumstances. It really does. What are you, spiritually? Well, I didn't. What's this, like Star Wars? I mean, I guess I'd be Yoda. I mean, what are you talking about? What am I? Well, I mean, are you Baptist, Methodist? No, nothing against Baptist, Methodist, but nothing against any denomination. But I'm not going to label myself. Well, it's not actually labeling yourself. I mean, it's yes, it absolutely is. And I'm thinking, don't try to get that past me. A lot of times people will say that. Well, don't. Well, actually, being Baptist or Methodist is not labeling, and people just accept it. They don't call them on it. It's like, oh no, it is. Can you tell me how it's not labeling? Because do Baptists associate? Do you associate with Methodists? Would you associate with Pentecostals? And you just see this look on their face like, okay, this guy might be the devil, I'm not going to say that I'm not the devil, because that's what the devil would say. So I'll let you make up your own mind. But I want you to know that what I've said tonight, don't believe it just because I said it. If it resonated with you, do your own research, do your own homework, read up on it, and you'll put the puzzle pieces together, and truth will be revealed to you, and that's the difference with me. Is I don't want to, and I'm not going to expect you to experience truth through me by to just settle for the truth that I have experienced. No, I want you to have what everyone needs to have, and you can't have it. Your personal experience with truth, not second, third, fourth hand, like people like telling stories about somebody else that did. Hey, what about yours? Have you personally experienced it? Once you do, you will be changed forever. There's no denying that, and that's what truth does. And it's, if you try to understand it with logic and reasoning and whatever else you can come up with, you're going to fail every time. Because you don't find truth, it finds you. And I'm not being cryptic or anything. I'm just telling you the truth. It does. You don't so much find truth as it finds you. And it finds everyone at the exact time that seemingly it's like a miracle, which it is and it isn't. But truth finds them at just the right time. Just the right time. And the reason is because truth is not outside of you. It doesn't find you outside of yourself. It's within you right now. It always has been. Why do you think that you've been taught to seek it here, seek it there, seek it everywhere outside of yourself? And that if you even think about that God is within you, that you're a heretic, or you're a Satanist, or you're the devil himself. Let them say what they want to say. But Jesus was approached by the Pharisees, and they said, what will be the signs of the coming of the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, does not come by observance, does not come by looking for it. He says, for when they say, lo, it's here, or lo, it's there, or lo, he's at the Sea of Galilee, he's in the temple, he's at Mary, Martha, and Lazarus' house, believe them not. Believe them not. For the kingdom of heaven is within you. Whoa. How many ministers and televangelists and preachers preach on that? They don't, because they if people knew that the kingdom of heaven, where is God? He's in his kingdom, right? He's in heaven, right? Where's heaven? It's within you. It's not in some celestial place away from earth, you know. And think about this, and I'll close with this, and you just ponder it. Jesus said, it does not come, the kingdom of God does not come by observation. It does not come by looking for it. For when they say, lo, it's here, lo, it's there, lo, he's here, he's there, or lo, he's on the clouds on a white horse coming back, he says, believe them not, for the kingdom of heaven is within you. Okay, people read that. They say that they believe what Jesus says, what Jesus said, his teachings. They read it, and what do? They say, well, I'll be glad when the rapture happens, when Jesus comes back and we're all caught up in the sky with him. Maybe were you listening when when we just talked about Jesus said it doesn't come by observance, that it doesn't come by looking for it, because it's within you. So where's Jesus coming back from if the Bible says he's sitting at the right hand of God the Father, and God the Father's in heaven on his throne? So wouldn't Jesus already be inside of you? So where is he coming back from? Truth is and I hate I really don't like it, but I'm going to tell you the truth even when it hurts. The rapture? No. The rapture happens to each person individually, and it is a real thing, but it is not anything like you have been taught that it is. It's all metaphorical, and it is very technical, but it does happen, but it is not about Jesus coming back on a white stallion on the clouds and everybody being drawn up and saved from tribulation and pain and suffering. It's just not. That was something that was started in the 17th century by Daniel Whitby, and then it went to Charles Nelson Darby of Darby's Study Bible, and then it went to C.H. Schofield, which, by the way, C.H. Schofield's Study Bible is still used today from 1912. Do you see how it is? It just takes one idea, one generation, which is like 20 years. You had Daniel Whitby in the 17th century, the late 17th century, that decided, hey, this is going to happen, this rapture. And what the Apostle Paul's talking about, how we will be caught up together with him in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air. It's not talking about literal. It's not literal. And I'll explain that in a later episode, but just know that it just takes one generation to change every future generation. And that's what has happened systematically throughout history. And not just with, spirituality being hijacked by religion, but a lot of other things. But just because mama and daddy believed it doesn't mean that you have to, or that you even should. No disrespect to them, or grandma or grandpa. No disrespect to them, but we're talking about you. And the truth is you can make up your own mind. You're an adult. And I can say this. I'm not being disrespectful to my family. I'm not being rude or callous, but there were many people, many of my loved ones, they were wrong. They were absolutely wrong. And they believed in that, certain things would happen, and that, God had told them that he would return within their lifetime, which I've heard that so many times, and these people die. And it's very sad because I can imagine them dying, taking their last breath, and thinking, wow, I didn't think it would end this way, And, well, that's the cost of deception, is believing what the Apostle Paul called fables, and telling people what their itching ears want to hear. And let's face it, that is today's teaching. There's no downtime. There's no challenging times. You can, you're not going to thrash in the water. You're not going to be in danger of drowning because you can walk on the water. You don't have to be sick because Jesus has already paid for all of your healing. And, total manipulation and mind games, mental control, mind control, totally. And neuro-linguistic programming goes into this, everything. And I'll go into that too next time. Because what we have now is we have churches, mega churches, and not so mega churches. It's spreading everywhere, where they have the praise and worship. That's a big deal now. Praise and worship for what, an hour and a half, 2 hours. People are, okay, stand up and sing, clap your hands, and do this. And I've been in churches before. I'm not really popular in churches because when they say, stand up, clap your hands, and everything, I'm like, I think I'll just sit here. No disrespect. I'm not saying that, but I don't get up. I don't stand up. And people are looking at me like, okay, what's his problem? And I don't have one. I'm just exerting, I'm just choosing not to stand, not to dance around like Bojangles, and, I would much rather sit here and watch you do it, But, and also I don't want to play into what you don't even realize you're playing into. Speaking of, people that dance for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours in praise and worship, they don't realize that what they're doing is they're actually taking part in their own entrance, or being put in an alpha state, an alpha brainwave state, basically being hypnotized to a certain degree. And after that, what usually comes? Well, don't they have a prayer? Most of the time, after the praise and worship, they have a prayer, and then they take the offering. Yeah, you're starting to see a pattern there. That's when everybody is in that alpha state, because they've listened to repeated rhythm, boom, 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 and they repeat the repetition of these songs, which I don't even call them songs, by the way. Yeah, they're probably used by the CIA for for interrogation. You start playing that stuff around me, I would probably spill the beans, on everything. I'm kidding, but it's pretty much that bad. It's like good grief. How many times are you gonna sing that? Yeah, we get it. It's ingrained in the marrow of my bones. I will never forget it, and then they play it again. After a while, people zone out. They get to a point where they don't even realize it, but they're not even there anymore because they don't want to listen to that anymore. But they can't leave because they're in church and, hey, they're worshiping God. It would upset God if they walked out, so they stay. But they're not there, really. And that's hypnosis. That is putting people in a state of extreme hyper suggestibility. And that's when, most often, when they take the offering, and then they have to sit through, being in that state, they sit through everything that the pastor or the televangelist or whatever wants to pour into their subconscious, and without filter. And this is why that a lot of people tell me, they say, well, I went to church to feel better, and when I left, I felt worse. Yeah. And nobody can explain that to me. And I'm like, hold my beer. I'm kidding. But I do explain it to them. And most of the time, they agree. They're like, wow, why didn't I see that? Well, because I didn't see it for so long. And I went through it. And I'm telling you now, giving you the inside scoop, so you don't have to go through and spend and waste the time that I did. You can be free. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. Jesus said, well, many people say, the truth will set you free, and I'm like, wrong. That's wrong. How's it wrong? Well, Jesus said, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Truth won't set you free. Truth is still truth, even if you don't know it. Even if you've never heard of it, it's still truth, right? But in order for it to set you free, you have to understand it. You have to know it. And if you don't know it, yeah. So, yeah, truth by itself, truth, if you don't know, does not set you free. And so that is also knowledge is power. Well, yes, but only power to those who understand it. And why do they leave out the understanding? Why do they leave out the knowing? Because that takes effort. It takes time to learn. It takes effort. It takes a desire, sacrifice of a little bit of time, or whatever. And in today's society, in today's world, that's frowned upon. Oh man, you mean I actually have to read things and listen? And well, you don't have to. Only if you want to learn. I mean, and if you want to learn from anybody, hey, look, I'm not holding the gun to your head and telling you that to learn from me. I mean, if you want to, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. No hard feelings. But anyway, last thing is I don't expect, thousands of people to accept what I teach, what I share. For this reason, Jesus said, he said, the broad road, the broad path. He said, many are on it and will be on it. And he says, and that leads to destruction, leads to death, spiritual. And he says, but narrow is the way. And he says, the narrow path that leads to salvation, eternal life, true empowerment, true spiritual power. He says, the narrow way that leads to life, he says, is what leads to life. And he says, and very few
will find it. Okay. Number one, he says it's narrow. Just, kind of like walking a tightrope. Yeah, it's narrow. Number two, he says very few will find it. Wow. And in today's teaching, everyone goes to heaven, right? I was a funeral director for 20 plus years and everybody went to heaven. It's amazing. Yeah. And then also, he says, and very few will find it. Well, if you have to find something, it means it's been hidden. Well, what's been hidden? The way to truth, the way to true spiritual power, not this well, it'll come to you. Just say this prayer, or say more prayers, or tithe more, or pray more. No. That's not it. That is not it. You're never going to get it. You're never going to get it because you're not meant to. That's the carrot that they hang over in front of you while you're pulling the cart, not knowing it. And are you ever going to get the carrot? No, you're not. Because then you would stop pulling the cart. You would stop funding. You'd stop making other people rich and happy, and while you are poor and miserable, for the most part. Some people are. A lot of people are because of that. And they die that way. And that's why I do what I do, is because, there's nothing that brings me any more joy than seeing people, not that I set them free. It's their choice to accept what I teach, what I say, or reject it. And when I allow people to put the puzzle pieces together and they have that aha moment and they thank me, and hey, thank yourself. You set yourself free. The only thing I did was just give you a little guidance, that's all I did. But hey, you're the man, you're the woman, give yourself credit. And anyway, love and light to you all, love you all, and love yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Put yourself first. Nothing wrong with that. Because if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't love yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of or love others. So, with that being said, I am glad to be back, and sorry I went over time, but I'm just happy to be back and have a lot to share and say. So I will be back on tomorrow night. Be back on at 11 Central Time. So please join, and I would appreciate it. And I would also appreciate if you would please follow me on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, because once I get 1,000 listeners, I can do live video, which is what I really want to do, because then I can show charts, I can show pictures, photos
of what I'm talking about and really go in depth on a lot of detailed facts that you can not just hear, but you can see for yourself, and that are undeniable. And so please subscribe to my channel, and if you could tell your friends and your family about it, I would appreciate it. Again, love and light to you all. Love you all. Good night from Texas. I'll see you tomorrow night.